The morning of March 7th was overcast in Chula Vista. Gray clouds hung over the coast, portending rain. Detective Martha Wilson parked her tattered Ford in front of a two-story house on Palm Street. Here, in the upscale Eastlake neighborhood, lived the Johnson couple. Marcus Johnson sat on the living room couch, staring at one point. His dark face seemed especially pale in the morning light filtering through the sheer curtains. The police photographer was finishing his work in the dining room, where Vanessa Johnson sat lifelessly at the set table. Martha examined the body carefully. Vanessa, a beautiful black woman of 39, looked as if she had just fallen asleep leaning on her elbow. On the table was a chilled dinner, steak, vegetables, a glass of red wine. No sign of struggle or violence. Ambulance arrived at 2020 on a call from the husband, Patrol Officer Jackson reported. He says they were having dinner, she complained of dizziness, then lost consciousness. Doctors pronounced her dead at the scene. Preliminary. Heart attack. Martha nodded and walked over to Marcus. The man looked up at her with tearful eyes. "Mr. Johnson, I'm very sorry for your loss. I'm Detective Wilson. Can you tell me what happened?" Marcus spoke in a monotone voice. "We had dinner. Vanessa got home from work around 7. I cooked steaks, her favorite. She said she was tired after meeting with clients. Then she started complaining of nausea and dizziness. I thought it was overwork." He fell silent, swallowing back tears. "She said she was having trouble breathing. I wanted to call an ambulance, but she refused. Said it would pass. And then she just leaned on the table and stopped answering." The medical examiner, Dr. Ramirez, showed up at the house. After examining the body, he shook his head. "At first glance, it does look like heart failure. But for 39 years old and with no medical history, it's unusual. We need to do an autopsy." The next day, Martha received the toxicology report. The results made her wince. Vanessa's blood showed traces of aconitine, a deadly alkaloid from the aconite plant known as wolf root or king grass. "It's an exceptionally rare poison," Dr. Ramirez explained. "It causes symptoms similar to a heart attack. Dizziness, nausea, difficulty breathing. Death occurs from paralysis of the respiratory muscles." Martha frowned. What at first looked like a tragic accident was now turning into a murder investigation. How could it have gotten into the body? Usually through food or drink. The poison acts quickly, 30 minutes to 2 hours. Martha returned to the Johnson house. Marcus was absent. He was at work at Eastlake High School, where he taught chemistry. Looking carefully around the kitchen, the detective noticed the collection of spices and herbs on the shelf. There was nothing suspicious among the usual seasonings. The bedroom on the second floor was in perfect order. Pictures of the happy couple on the dresser, a neatly made bed, closets filled with expensive clothes. By the looks of it, the Johnsons were living well. In Vanessa's office, Martha found the day planner of a successful realtor. Client meetings, home showings, weekly plans. The last entry for the day she died read, "Dinner with Monsieur Discuss Trip." That evening, Martha met with Marcus again. The man looked depressed, but tried to hold himself together. "Mr. Johnson, I have some bad news. The forensics show that your wife was poisoned." Marcus froze, looking at the detective with an incomprehensible stare. "Poisoned? But how? By who?" "That's what we need to find out. Tell me more about that evening. What did you eat? Who cooked?" "I cooked. Steaks, salad, potatoes. We drank red wine. I opened the bottle myself. Nothing out of the ordinary." "Did you eat the same food?" "Yes, of course. We had the same portions." Martha recorded the statement, watching Marcus closely. His reaction seemed genuine, but the detective knew the first suspect was always the spouse. Did Vanessa have enemies? Conflicts at work? No, everyone loved her. She was a wonderful person, always helped customers, worked honestly. After leaving the Johnsons' house, Martha called the station. She needed to check Marcus's alibi, interview Vanessa's co-workers, neighbors, and most importantly, find out where the rare and deadly poison had come from in the system of a successful woman who seemed to have the perfect life. The next morning, Detective Martha Wilson began by interviewing the Johnsons' neighbors. The first was Mrs. Evelyn Thompson, a 70-year-old widow who lived across the street. The old lady proved to be a veritable treasure trove of information about neighborhood life. "Oh, poor Vanessa," Mrs. Thompson wailed as she sat Martha down in her living room with a cup of hot tea. "Such a sweet woman, always saying hello, sometimes helping me with my shopping. And what can you tell me about Mr. Johnson?" "Marcus. Quiet, polite, chemistry teacher at our school. He's gotten kind of jumpy lately, though, especially since his brother came back." Martha perked up. "Brother?" "Oh yeah, Marcus has a twin brother, Miles. Like two peas in a pod, they're alike, only the personalities are different. Miles is a musician, plays the saxophone. Left town about 10 years ago, said he was going to New York. Came back a month ago." "And how did Marcus react to his return?" Mrs. Thompson hesitated, stirring her tea. "You know, it's strange. I saw them meet at Marcus's house. Didn't hug, didn't even shake hands. Just stood there looking at each other. Then Miles said something, Marcus nodded, and they went inside." "And Miles was often at the Johnsons' house?" "Yes, quite often. Moreover," the old woman lowered her voice, "sometimes he'd come over when Marcus wasn't home. I've seen him come in during the day a few times when Marcus was at work. Vanessa worked from home, you know. She had an office on the second floor." Martha jotted down the information and headed for the next neighbor. James Carter, a 40-year-old attorney, confirmed Mrs. Thompson's words. "Yes, the Johnson brothers are an interesting couple. Outwardly, you can't tell the difference, but their mannerisms are completely different. Marcus, a real intellectual, reserved, always in a suit. Miles is a free-spirited artist. Jeans, t-shirts, tattoo on his forearm." "Did you socialize with Miles?" "A couple times. He rents an apartment downtown, but he used to come here a lot. Said he missed his brother. Didn't seem like they were close, though, to be honest." Back at the station, Martha began making inquiries about Miles Johnson. It turned out that he had indeed left Chula Vista 10 years ago after a serious conflict with his brother. The cause of the conflict could not be determined. Both brothers did not talk about it. After lunch, Martha went to the school where Marcus worked. The principal, Mr. Williams, described him as an excellent teacher. "We've had Marcus for 15 years. Responsible, punctual. The children adore him. He can explain complex things in simple terms. It's true that in the last month he's become absent-minded, sometimes late." "It started after your brother returned?" The principal raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Yes, around that time. Do you think there's a connection?" In the evening, Martha decided to visit Miles himself. He lived in a small apartment in the historic center of Chula Vista. When Martha opened the door, she was confused for a second. Standing in front of her was an exact replica of Marcus, only in jeans and a black t-shirt. "Detective Wilson," she introduced herself. "Can I ask you a few questions about your sister-in-law?" Miles led her into an apartment littered with sheet music and musical instruments. "A terrible tragedy," he said, settling into a chair. "Vanessa was a wonderful woman, intelligent, beautiful. Marcus was lucky." "Did you see her often?" "Yes, quite often. I'd just gotten back into town after a long absence. I wanted to reconnect with my brother." "The neighbors say you've been over to their house when Marcus was away." Miles shrugged. "Vanessa worked from home. Sometimes I'd stop by during the day to talk, have coffee. She'd talk about Marcus, about their life. Helped my brother and I find common ground." "And why did you leave 10 years ago?" Miles's face darkened. "Family differences. Marcus and I have always been different. He's an excellent student, his parents' favorite. I'm the eternal rebel. After my father died, we finally fought over the inheritance. I got my share and left." "And what made you come back?" "Time heals. Besides, I was tired of New York. I wanted to go home to the ocean, and yeah, I wanted to make up with my brother. We are twins, after all." Martha watched Miles carefully. He seemed sincere, but something about his demeanor was alarming. "Where were you the night Vanessa died?" "Played at the Blue Note Jazz Club until midnight, then went to a friend's house. Lisa Collins, she'll confirm." As they left Miles's apartment, Martha reflected on what she had heard. The strained relationship between the brothers, Miles's frequent visits to Vanessa in her husband's absence, all of this provided fertile ground for conflict. But was this conflict related to Vanessa's death? The next day, Martha met with Marcus again, this time in his office at school. "Tell me about your relationship with your brother," she asked. Marcus sighed, taking off his glasses. It's a complicated relationship. We've always been different. I chose stability, a career as a teacher. Miles is the eternal adventurer. Why did he leave? After my father died, we had a falling out. Miles wanted to sell the family home. I was against it. He ended up taking the money and leaving. We didn't speak to each other for 10 years. And then he came back? Yeah, a month ago. Said he wanted to make up. Yeah, I didn't know how to react. It's been so many years. Did he come to your house often? Marcus tensed. Sometimes. Vanessa insisted that we needed to mend the relationship. She was always trying to make up with everyone. Martha noticed Marcus's hands trembling as he talked about his brother's visits. It was obvious that the subject was bothering him. Back at the station, the detective laid out on the table all the facts she had gathered. 2 twin brothers with an uneasy relationship, the sudden return of one of them, frequent visits to the wife of the other, a mysterious death from a rare poison. The picture was gradually becoming clearer, but many pieces of the puzzle still did not add up. On the 3rd day of the investigation, Detective Martha Wilson visited the Regina Beauty Salon in downtown Chula Vista. The owner of the salon, 35-year-old Regina Harris, was a close friend of Vanessa Johnson. A tall, slender woman with fashionable hair met the detective in her office. "I'm sorry I look like this," Regina apologized, wiping her tears with a tissue. "I still can't believe Vanessa is gone." "I understand. Please tell me about your relationship with Mrs. Johnson." "We were friends for 7 years. We met at a charity auction. She was a wonderful person, smart, beautiful, successful." "Has she been acting unusual lately?" Regina was quiet for a moment, gathering her thoughts. "Yes, for the last 2 months she's been different, distracted, brooding, canceling appointments a lot, checking her phone constantly." "Did she say what was bothering her?" The woman was clearly struggling with herself, deciding whether to reveal her friend's secret. "Detective, Vanessa trusted me with the secret, but now that she's gone..." "Regina, any information can help with the investigation. 2 months ago, she admitted she was having an affair. Didn't give a name, just said he was a musician and they'd known each other a long time." After getting the search warrant, Martha returned to the Johnson house. Marcus was at work. The detective methodically checked every drawer. Vanessa's nightstand revealed a leather-bound day planner with notes between the pages. "My dear V, every minute without you is torture," one of the notes read. "Soon we will be together without hiding." In the dressing room, behind the shoe boxes, there was a small box. Inside were pictures of Vanessa with a man who looked remarkably like Marcus, but in looser clothes, on the beach, in the park, in a cafe. In one picture, they stood in an embrace against the sunset. The caption on the back reads, "Our secret beach, February." Martha took the findings to the station. A handwriting expert confirmed the notes were written by Miles Johnson. Phone call analysis showed dozens of messages between Vanessa and Miles every day. They met during the day when Marcus was working. In the evening, the detective visited the Blue Note Jazz Club where Miles was playing. After the show, she approached him in his dressing room. "Mr. Johnson, we need to talk." Martha placed a picture of the beach in front of him. Miles turned pale and sank heavily into a chair. The silence lasted for several minutes. "I loved her," he finally said. "Loved her at first sight, even 10 years ago. She was dating Marcus then. I left because I couldn't see it." "And what changed when you came back?" "Everything changed. And nothing. Feelings flared up with renewed vigor. Vanessa admitted she'd always felt attracted to me, too." "How did it start?" "I went over to her place to discuss reconciling with my brother. We drank some wine, got to talking, and we couldn't stop. We saw each other almost every day after that." "Did Marcus know?" "No. We were careful, planned to tell him and leave together. Vanessa wanted to do it after his birthday in April." Martha watched Miles carefully. His grief seemed genuine. He had a motive to hide the affair, but not to kill his lover. "Where were you the night she died?" "Here at the club. Played until midnight. Then I went to see Lisa Collins. She'll confirm." Back at the station, Martha pondered the new facts. Vanessa's affair with her husband's brother changed the crime scene completely. The big question remained: what did Marcus know, and when did he learn the truth? The next morning, Detective Martha Wilson headed to Eastlake High School. After speaking with the principal, she gained access to the chemistry classroom and Marcus Johnson's private office. The school's lab, equipped with state-of-the-art equipment, was filled with neatly arranged flasks, test tubes, and reagents. The lab assistant, an elderly woman named Esther Brown, led the detective around the room. "Mr. Johnson is a very responsible teacher," she said, showing the chemical cabinets. "All dangerous reagents are kept under lock and key. Only chemistry teachers have access." "Does he often linger in the lab after school?" Martha inquired. "Lately, yes, said he was preparing some important project with the high school students." Marcus's private office was in perfect order. There were stacks of checked papers, textbooks, methodology books on the desk. In a locked desk drawer, Martha found several scientific journals on toxicology and botany. Some of the articles were labeled with bookmarks. One of them detailed the properties of the aconite plant and its alkaloids. Back at the station, Martha asked the tech department to check Marcus's internet activity for the past 3 months. The results were quite interesting. A month before Vanessa's death, Marcus had placed several orders with a specialized online botanical specimen store. Among the plants ordered was Junghar aconite, known for its high concentration of poisonous alkaloids. The detective called Marcus in for questioning. He arrived at the station after school, looking tired and depressed. "Mr. Johnson, can you explain these purchases?" Martha placed the printouts of the online orders in front of him. Marcus scrutinized the documents. "Yes, I ordered these plants for a school science project. My students are preparing a research paper on poisonous plants and their medicinal uses. And where are these specimens now?" "I destroyed them after the class demonstration. Didn't want to risk the safety of the children." Marcus provided a detailed project plan, a list of participating students, and even drafts of their research. Martha contacted the parents of the students mentioned on the list. All confirmed the information about the project. After obtaining a search warrant, the detective returned to the Johnson home. In the basement, in a locked metal cabinet, she discovered a small home laboratory. "What's all this equipment?" Martha asked, pointing to a microscope and chemical dishes. "Sometimes I prepare experiments at home for classes," Marcus replied calmly. The forensics team surveyed the room. They found microscopic traces of organic matter on one of the flasks. A rapid analysis showed the presence of alkaloids characteristic of plants of the buttercup family. Burnt remains of plant material were found in a garbage can near the house. Laboratory analysis confirmed that it was parts of Junghar aconite. Martha also examined the family's financial records. 2 weeks before Vanessa's death, Marcus had taken out an additional $500,000 worth of life insurance on his wife. "Why did you need such a large life insurance policy?" the detective asked. "Wanted to ensure financial security. These days you have to think about the future," replied Marcus. At the school, Martha spoke with Marcus's co-workers. Biology teacher Robert Mitchell said, "In recent weeks, he has often stayed late in the lab. One day I came in. He was studying some plant under a microscope. He quickly put it away when he saw me." School Secretary Dorothy Parker recalled an unusual request. About a week before that incident, Marcus asked for the keys to the lab for the weekend. Said he was preparing a complicated experiment. Teachers don't usually work weekends at school. Examining the CCTV footage, Martha saw that on the day Vanessa died, Marcus had come home at 16:30, 2.5 hours before the tragic dinner. That was enough time to prepare the poisoned meal. The evidence gathered painted a disturbing picture. Marcus had the necessary knowledge, access to poisonous substances, and the ability to use them. The home lab and traces of aconite pointed to a possible extraction of the poison. But the big question remained. Did Marcus know about his wife's affair with his brother? In the morning, Detective Martha Wilson summoned Miles Johnson for formal questioning at the police station. The musician arrived exactly at the appointed time, looked exhausted and pale. In the interrogation room, he nervously rubbed the strap of his watch, avoiding the detective's direct gaze. Martha began with a simple question about her relationship with Vanessa, but Miles interrupted her by raising his hand. "Detective, I'll tell you everything. There's no point in hiding anymore." For the next 2 hours, Miles detailed the history of his relationship with his brother's wife. The story began with their first meeting 11 years ago. When Vanessa had just started working at a real estate agency at that time, she was already dating Marcus, but there was a special bond between her and Miles right away. They talked a lot about music, art, traveling, everything that was foreign to the practical Marcus. After leaving for New York, Miles tried to forget Vanessa, immersed in music, toured the country, had several short-lived novels, but the image of his sister-in-law haunted his dreams. The decision to return to Chula Vista matured suddenly. He was tired of the metropolis and wanted to try to establish a relationship with his brother. Their first meeting after a 10-year separation had taken place at the Johnson home on January 25th. Marcus was cold and aloof, while Vanessa greeted Miles warmly, like an old friend. When their gazes met, both realized that the feelings hadn't gone anywhere. Miles described how their relationship developed. The first weeks they just talked. Vanessa showed him the changes in the city. They drank coffee in small cafes, walked on the beach. She talked about the problems in the marriage. Marcus became withdrawn, completely immersed in work. Between them for a year there was no intimacy. The turning point came in February of the 14th. Miles came to Vanessa's house to discuss the idea of a family dinner to reconcile with his brother. They opened a bottle of wine, started talking. Vanessa cried, talking about her loneliness. Miles put his arm around her to comfort her, and they couldn't stop. From that day on, their meetings became regular. They developed a system of precautions. They never met in crowded places in Chula Vista. They communicated through an encrypted app. Miles only went to Vanessa's house when he was sure Marcus was at work. Their favorite spot was a secluded beach 20 miles outside of town. "We knew what we were doing was wrong," Miles admitted, but love proved stronger. Martha showed Miles the evidence she'd found, photos, notes, printouts of messages. He confirmed the authenticity of all the materials. According to him, he and Vanessa were planning a future together. They were going to go to Europe, to Barcelona, where Miles had connections in the music world. The detective asked about specific escape plans. Miles revealed that they were going to accomplish everything at the end of March. Vanessa wanted to finalize some major real estate deals first and transfer the money to an overseas account. They planned to leave Marcus a letter of explanation. After the interrogation, Martha did a thorough background check. Vanessa's computer contained confirmation of Miles's words. A file folder contained drafts of a farewell letter to Marcus. The browser contained search queries about apartment rentals in Barcelona, visa requirements, and the cost of living in Spain. The most important find was 2 e-tickets for a San Diego to Barcelona flight with a layover in New York. The flight was scheduled to depart on March 28th. The tickets had been purchased a week before Vanessa's death on her personal credit card. Martha also checked Miles's alibi for the night of the murder. The administrator at the Blue Note Jazz Club confirmed that Miles performed from 20 to 23 o'clock. Surveillance videos confirmed his presence. After the show, he did go to Lisa Collins, a bartender at the same club where he spent the night. Vanessa's bank statements revealed regular transfers to a Swiss bank account. In the last 2 months, she transferred there about $150,000, probably the means to start a new life. This money was earned by her personally from the sale of real estate. The detective examined the phone records for the day of the murder. The last message from Miles to Vanessa had been sent at 17:45. "Love you. We'll be free soon." Vanessa replied at 17:50. "Love you too. Having dinner tonight with M. See you tomorrow." Martha re-examined Miles, focusing on the details of their plans. He told her that he had a friend in Barcelona who owned a jazz club and was willing to give him a job. Vanessa was going to open a small real estate agency for foreigners there. "Why didn't you leave sooner?" Vanessa wanted to do the right thing, finish her business, talk to Marcus. She didn't want to just disappear. Analysis of all the data collected pointed to Miles's sincerity. He had no motive to kill Vanessa. On the contrary, her death had ruined all their plans. Tickets, money transfers, correspondence, everything confirmed the intention to start a life together. At the end of the interrogation, Miles did not hold back tears. "I lost the love of my life, and now my brother thinks I killed his wife." Martha ended the interrogation, but asked Miles to stay in town and be available for further questions. More and more evidence was pointing to the fact that the solution to the crime had to do not with the victim's lover, but with the cheating husband. In the early morning hours, Detective Martha Wilson gathered all of the files on the Vanessa Johnson murder case in the conference room. A large whiteboard was hung with photos, diagrams, copies of documents. In the center was a picture of a smiling Vanessa, surrounded by lines leading to pictures of Marcus and Miles. After carefully analyzing all the evidence, Martha obtained a warrant to search the Johnson home again. This time she searched more deliberately. In Marcus's office, in a secret compartment of his desk, the detective found a black moleskin, his personal diary. The entries began in January, the time of Miles's return. The first pages contained the usual notes about work, lesson plans, but from mid-February onward, the tone changed dramatically. Marcus wrote about his wife's strange behavior, her frequent absences, her mysterious phone calls. February 15th. W left again on business right after I left for school. A neighbor saw her get into the car with M. I can't believe the worst, read one of the entries. February 20th. Installed tracking program on her phone. Dozens of texts from M every day. They meet while I'm working, my brother and my wife. Betrayal. The last entry was dated March 5th. Found tickets to Barcelona. They plan to escape on the 28th. I have 3 weeks. Justice must be served. Aconite is the perfect solution. No one would suspect a chemistry teacher of poisoning his own wife. Forensic investigators re-examined Marcus's home lab. Using specialized equipment, they found microscopic traces of aconitine on the work surface of the table. In a crevice between floor tiles, they found a tiny fragment of dried aconite root. Technicians recovered deleted files from Marcus's computer. Among them were detailed instructions for extracting aconitine from plant material, calculations of lethal dosage, and information on symptoms of poisoning. All files were created between February 25th and March 4th. Browser history revealed the search terms: how to disguise aconite poisoning, how long does aconitine last, can aconite be found at autopsy. Marcus carefully planned the crime using his professional knowledge. Forensics revealed that Marcus ordered not only aconite for a school project, but also specialized laboratory equipment for alkaloid extraction. The delivery was made to the school's address, which did not arouse suspicion. Fragments of a broken glass flask were found in a dumpster near the Johnsons' home. Chemical analysis revealed traces of a concentrated solution of aconitine. Apparently, Marcus disposed of the evidence immediately after the crime. Detective Wilson took a closer look at the surveillance footage. Footage taken the day before the murder showed Marcus carrying a small bag out of the house and throwing it into a garbage can. The time is 22:15. It was probably leftover plant material from the poison extraction. After gathering all the evidence, Martha called Marcus in for questioning. This time, she showed him the diary, the results of the forensic tests, the recovered files. Marcus was silent for a long time, looking at the evidence spread out before him. When did you learn of your wife's affair with your brother? In mid-February. I happened to see a text message on her cell phone. And you decided to get revenge? They betrayed me. Both of them. Planned to leave me and run away. I couldn't let that happen. Marcus detailed how he prepared the crime. Using the school lab on weekends, he extracted pure aconitine from the roots of the plant, calculated the exact dose that would cause death but leave no obvious signs of poisoning. On the day of the murder, he added the poison to Vanessa's steak sauce. Why aconite? The symptoms look like a heart attack. Given her age and lack of health problems, I hoped the autopsy would be superficial. Didn't take into account Dr. Ramirez's meticulousness. The prosecutor charged Marcus Johnson with first-degree premeditated murder. Given his careful planning of the crime and use of specialized knowledge, he faced life in prison without parole. The next day, Martha met with Miles to report that the crime had been solved. The musician was shocked. Despite all the controversy, he couldn't believe his brother was capable of murder. I'm to blame for all of this, Miles said. If I hadn't come back, if Vanessa and I hadn't. You are not responsible for your brother's actions, Martha objected. Marcus made his choice. The case received widespread press coverage. The local newspapers ran headlines about a love triangle that ended in tragedy. Marcus's colleagues were shocked. No one could imagine that a respected teacher was capable of such a crime. At the preliminary hearing, Marcus pleaded guilty. His lawyer tried to insist that he was temporarily insane due to emotional distress. But the diary and careful preparation of the murder testified otherwise. The investigation was officially closed. Martha Wilson received a commendation from her superiors for solving a difficult case. But there was no joy from the successful completion of the investigation. Too tragic was the story of the Johnson family, destroyed by jealousy and betrayal.